We just got perhaps the largest bull case that Tom Lee has ever spoken on, that he's predicting for the end of 2025, and there's one stock in his portfolio that is going to benefit the most. So in this video, let's talk about Tom Lee's latest granny shot, starting with an interview with Tom Lee that shares his entire insight.
But, Bitwise has a great stat. 95% of all Bitcoin's been mined, but 95% of the world doesn't own Bitcoin. So I just think that there's still a huge demand versus supply imbalance, meaning there's a lot more potential buyers of Bitcoin over the next 10 years. And so I think there's a lot of upside into year end.
Into your 150 target?
Yeah, 150, maybe 200, even 250 this year.
What? 150 to 200 to even 250. And what's you don't have a terminal price on that, do you?
Well, it's, I think at a minimum it should have the same network value as gold. Mm-hmm. And if you look at above ground gold, it's probably 23 trillion. So that would be, 1.2 million for Bitcoin. But I think Bitcoin is more valuable than gold. So, Bitcoin could be 2 million, 3 million long term. Even higher.
Okay.
That's just got to shock people, right? He is extremely bullish on the outcome of both Bitcoin and overall markets in general for 2025. But the Bitcoin prediction is the one that I think takes the cake. Bitcoin by end of year being anywhere from 150,000 to 250,000 per coin, with a terminal rate going all the way up to 2.5 million. Now, Tom Lee makes a lot of bets, and the Granny ETF rebalances at a constant rate. But it's been clear for the last little bit that Robinhood has been at the top of this list and is probably the single number one company that has made him by far the most money this year. And it's obviously in due part because crypto is making up a large percentage of their overall earnings, okay? And Bitcoin makes up a large percentage of that. So if we could potentially see Bitcoin 2.5x, this could make up for a large percentage of Robinhood's overall gains into the future. But then Scott Bessent said that stablecoins could grow into a $3.7 trillion market. Tom Lee said, this is a 15x on the overall stablecoin market, and Ethereum could be the largest winner here. But what is the company that is actually dealing in both Ethereum and Bitcoin and actually benefits as a toll road for all of the traffic that both of these cryptocurrencies see? Robinhood. About 27% of all of Robinhood's revenue comes from crypto. It also happens to be their fastest growing segment out of all of their other transactional based revenue. So whenever you also include the fact that he's bullish on the rest of equities and options markets for the rest of 2025, the second half is looking to be a very, very good time to be an investor for Robinhood if you consider that that's the only way that they actually benefit. Crypto volumes, equity volumes, options volumes, and Tom Lee expects massive acceleration in all three of those segments. So to put it plainly, if Bitcoin and Ethereum rally, Robinhood makes more crypto revenue. But there's also more. Whenever you consider the fact that stablecoins are expecting to 15x, Robinhood wants to be a part of this as well. Not just by trading Ethereum, but the fact that the Global Dollar Network, which is one of the faster accelerating new stablecoins that are being created, Robinhood is actually the number one network partner that they've announced. Yet Robinhood hasn't come out and said anything about this yet. So could we actually see, come June 30th at their crypto event, that Robinhood starts to announce that they have a stablecoin and they're going to be getting into more crypto-based payments and also other crypto, side projects as well? Like, for example, as we can see from Coinbase, stablecoins make up for 15% of their total revenue. All of their revenue is crypto-based, right? So 15% of total revenue comes from stablecoins. That could be a great ad for Robinhood in general. And plus the fact that if this does 15x, not only will Coinbase do very well, but also Robinhood is also going to see a massive acceleration if they show off products and stablecoins as well. Now, there's also staking. This is the number one most asked for product from Robinhood Crypto, and it's what is most anticipated whenever we see their June 30th event. Could we see an additional 10% plus gains, or like what Coinbase is seeing, $200 million a quarter coming from a segment that, Robinhood is just in very nascent areas so far? So far, all of this data is showing that both Robinhood and Coinbase are going to accelerate greatly over the next 12 months. But if we actually look deeper into the data, there might be a reason for why Tom Lee is betting on Robinhood, but not actually putting much allocation towards Coinbase. And if we take a look closer at the data, we might end up spotting some reasons why. As you can see, we can track all of the large centralized exchanges to see how much total crypto volume they're actually trading, as well as basing it off their total revenue, knowing what their take rate is on all of that crypto. So the first thing that we have to understand is that Robinhood's crypto take rate is not anywhere near Coinbase's, which means that if you are a user and you actually want more crypto for your money, it's probably best to use Robinhood versus Coinbase at this time. But it looks like Coinbase is trying to actually bring down their crypto take rate to meet somewhere in the middle, while Coinbase is actually aggressively ramping their pricing. Maybe they'll meet somewhere in the middle of around 1%. But if you actually take a look here and you were to invest in these companies based on their revenue acceleration over time, yes, Coinbase has made more and more volume over time, but let's say they've doubled their revenue between 2021 and 2025, just for easy math, okay? They will have essentially just a little bit squeezed out more than 2x on the revenue because they've increased their take rate. Where if Robinhood has 2x their volume, but they've increased their take rate by 5x, they've essentially 10x their crypto revenue because it's a multiplier of how much volume they're actually bringing on. So if you're to bet on companies based on their rate of change in a certain industry, Robinhood has been aggressively increasing how much revenue and also their margins that they're making on these products. Plus, I mean, if we plot out their total trading volume, this is just for retail market share, by the way, you can end up seeing that Robinhood is just slightly under Coinbase almost every single quarter. And by the way, Robinhood is only just dealing in a couple of countries right now. Actually, for most of these quarters, almost just one country, the United States of America, where Coinbase has been trading in almost 100 plus countries. If we also look at the total market share plotted out on the total centralized exchange traded volume, which is in the trillions of dollars essentially, what you end up seeing is that Coinbase is at 1.4% of the total market share, where Robinhood is anywhere between 1.1% to 0.8%. But this is what Robinhood has been able to do while not even owning a coin or a crypto exchange. They've just been partnering with companies in order to get great pricing. Well, that might change because Coinbase has actually finalized their acquisition of Bitstamp, one of the earliest crypto exchanges, even younger than Coinbase, just starting all the way back in 2011. Now, if we go on to Blockworks Research, we can actually plot out how much Bitstamp trading volume there's actually been. The only problem is we can't separate institutional volume from retail volume, so it's a little inaccurate there, but this is the best research we're going to get so far. Anyway, if we end up taking a look at both Robinhood market share and Bitstamp market share, they are actually running pretty in tandem. Well, if we were to combine them now, retroactively, this is how well Robinhood would have done if they had acquired this asset all the way back in Q4 of 2021. Well, if we plot that on Coinbase, you can actually see that Robinhood is starting to take higher percentages of the total market share than Coinbase. It's a little inaccurate because we're not pricing in Coinbase's institutional volume either, but it's really only the retail volume that we want to care about. It's just we don't know what percentage of that is for Bitstamp and what percentage is institutional. What I think Tom Lee sees here is that Robinhood's ability to try to attract more Robinhood users is at a quicker pace than essentially any other company in the entire stock market. And not only that, but they're benefiting on a ton of cross-sell into other products. So the average revenue per user or cross-sell per user that they can find is much higher than Coinbase will ever get to if they can also get a credit card and stock trading and also options and cash accounts and banking and all of the other products that Robinhood wants to get into. Obviously, Coinbase will want to do a lot of those features as well, but they kind of have to wait for traditional finance to catch up to crypto, where Robinhood is happy sort of dealing in both. And they're not wanting to slow down at all. Robinhood just acquired another crypto-based company called WonderFi, which is actually a crypto exchange here in Canada. And they're actually doing very well, growing very quickly from 2024 compared to 2023. They're profitable. They have cash. They are expanding into many other features. They even want to get into traditional assets like stock trading and options. So potentially Robinhood is going to expand in Canada via WonderFi as well. So if Tom Lee is correct, we have an equity bull market that only Robinhood is going to benefit by far the most on. They're essentially doubling year over year. And then the huge crypto upside that we're also seeing is also proving that they're Acquisitions of Bitstamp and WonderFi have also been very well placed, and they're going to make a fortune on this. So although historically this company is up 90% in the last 3 months, or even year over year is up 275%, there is a premium that you're going to pay for the number one winner in any asset class. And it's seeming like Robinhood is going to dominate both traditional finance while also positioning itself for the next generation of stock traders, crypto investors, and everything in between. If Bitcoin hits $250,000 a coin by the end of this year, this is only just the start of what Robinhood stock is going to end up doing. And I cannot wait. I've been a shareholder since $16. This is a very exciting stock to continue to hold. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for watching. Really do appreciate your time. And bye for now.